Welcome back into the East Bank Sports Show. I am your host, Ella, with my buddy here, Matt. Matt, how are you doing? It has been just over a week since our last episode.
I am not too bad, man. I'm not bad at all. How are you?
No complaints over here. None at all, really. Just came back from the Cavs game, working my first game in a little bit. Had some family issues, so I couldn't really make it out to many of the games to wrap up the regular season. But we're here, and the Cavs are 2-0. What are your thoughts, Matt? I know you watched a little bit of the game. Well, I was at the game, but let me hear your thoughts about everything, man.
I mean, started off obviously real general. I think everybody in Cleveland will agree with me here. I love seeing a Cleveland team winning in the postseason.
100%.
Point blank, I love it. Cleveland teams 2-0 in the postseason right now, first round of the playoffs. What's there to really be upset about? It's two good-looking wins from what I've seen.
I want everybody who has ever had a problem with Jared Allen to stand up and apologize right now, because that man has played an aggressive brand of basketball, and I am so excited about it. He had 20 rebounds today. 20 rebounds. He is tied for second in most in Cavs history for a game. I believe it's postseason. 21 being Kevin Love at that number one spot. But Jared Allen, 20 rebounds in a game, and we're up by 20 at one point. It was electric to be in that arena, man. The heat on some of those Magic players, like the people just being upset. It was fantastic. Matt, do you have any other takeaways Cavs wise? I could talk all day, but I know we have a big mock draft to get into too.
I mean, not to drag it out a bit, but I know we talked a lot in previous episodes about how they need to put it together come playoff time, and I personally was nervous that they hadn't to end the season, but it looks like a well put together team from what I've watched. It looks really exciting.
Yeah, I think we just match up really well with the Magic. I'm curious not to look too far ahead, even though I'm calling the Cavs sweep right now. Not to look too far ahead. I'm curious to see what that second round matchup, probably Boston, is going to look like. We did take a game from them in our regular season series. So I'm really curious to see what, a full 7-game series against them looks like. But let's just be happy the Cavs are in the playoffs and we're not getting gentlemen swept like we did last year by the New York Knicks. So I'm really happy about that. I know you are too. I want to get into this mock draft because we've been prepping this episode for about a week and a half now. But before we get there, Guardians. The Guardians have the best record in the MLB, Matt. Talk to us about it.
I mean, they're the best team in the league. It's plain and simple. They wake up and they piss excellence. I mean, it's just awesome. I will say, I mean, everybody's seen the stats flying around. Their best record in the MLB, one of the lowest payrolls. Love to see it. I do want to throw it out there. I'm slightly nervous. We haven't played any serious competition yet. It's been a lot of Oakland, a lot of, the Red Sox. The one serious team we did play was the Yankees. We lost 2 out of 3 to them. I'm not saying that's horrible, and obviously I'm really excited because the team looks fantastic. Coming up here, we have a stretch against Atlanta and the Astros. That'll be kind of a good indicator to see how good this team really is versus how we've been playing against borderline minor league teams.
All I want to say is the Yankees lost to the A's today, 2-0. So all the Yankee fans on Twitter that I've been, arguing with a little bit, I thought they were a minor league team, but you lost to them. I just want to know. That's all I'm saying. I'm really happy with what's going on with the Guardians, especially with the injuries in the bullpen and, with the pitchers in general. They had that trade. I'm going to pull it up real quick for the relief pitcher. He hasn't yet, Pedro hasn't even come in yet, I don't think, right?
No.
everything is pointing in good directions. Matt, I want to talk real quick. We were talking about the Cookie Santos matchup, right? Or Cookie
Xavier.
Xavier. Yeah, Xavier Curry. I'm sorry. Touch on that real quick.
So I personally love, and especially with that trade we made to get the extra reliever into the bullpen, I love the idea of handcuffing Cookie and Xavier Curry as almost joint starters. Cookie will start, go 4 or 5 innings, whatever he looks good in. X comes in immediately after him, likely finishes out the game, if not gets us to closer closet. I love the idea. They play off each other's strengths well. I think Cookie sets X up fantastic. X has looked fantastic. And that's not to say you can't use Xavier when you need him throughout the week, but you kind of want to save him there. Cookie obviously has looked a little shaky. He lets a lot of runners on base. So I think it's nice to have that really solid looking second step there. I love the idea, and I don't think the front office hates it. I'm interested to see how they play it, though.
Yeah, me too. And I'm interested, me and you have talked behind the scenes, and I don't know how much we've really brought it up on the show, but I'm really interested to see what happens trade wise with this starting pitcher situation. Because as much as you love Cookie and I love Cookie and Cleveland loves Cookie, Cookie can't start the whole season. And our pipeline with pitchers right now, the number one pitcher in our funnel right now, his name slips me. He was a pitcher in Akron when I was down there, though. He is out for the year with throwing shoulder surgery. So there's got to be a trade somewhere that you would think they would move towards so they don't have to start Cookie for all 162 games of the season.
I kind of think we're just legging for why is my name blank? Gavin Williams. I don't know why I struggled with that. I kind of think we're just holding out for him to get back. Because as much as I love the dude, I wholeheartedly agree. Cookie has got to get back to the bullpen, and he's got to get there soon, or he's going to start to burn us quick. And I really
My
think we're just waiting on Gavin for that.
But my thing is too that you're still missing a spot right now in the starting pitcher rotation. Who fills that? Because it should have been Bieber, Gavin, Bybee, McKenzie, and Williams. I said Gavin already. Why is the other one slipping my mind right now? That the other starting pitcher, not Gavin Williams, but we sound great right now. But
Oh, this is
regardless,
awesome.
those were the 5 starters, and you lose Tristan McKenzie. Williams is out for a little bit. Is Cookie the answer for your 5th pitcher?
I mean, like we've talked before, we're probably going to have to make a trade.
What do you think something like that looks like, just out of curiosity?
It's
Logan
really
Allen's
hard
the
to
other
call.
pitcher. What the hell?
What? Wow, oh my, that hurts. That hurts a little
Yeah.
bit, actually.
Oh, well, continue on
Honestly,
with your
though,
thought.
making a trade, I really don't even know what to say. I haven't seen this office make trades yet, really, with the exception of the one, which was nothing to really examine super close.
Yeah,
There's not a lot
the
to it.
relief pitcher. I'm there.
So I really don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. I think I've brought this up before to see us trade Clase. As much as I hate saying it and believing it's a possibility, I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen and get a bunch of talent for him while we can. Or I wouldn't be shocked to see us trade some minor leaguers, get a serviceable starter on a 1-year rental, and just get us through. I
Yeah,
have no idea.
I'm kind of I'm at a loss right now too. I'm curious if they do cook something up. Something else that's kind of been on my mind baseball wise real quick, and then we'll cut into the ad break and go into the mock draft because that's the meat and potatoes of this episode. The talk of wanting to extend Josh Naylor and Stephen Kwan. Obviously, I think both of me and you want that to happen. Do you think that happens though with how cheap this Cleveland baseball organization has been in years past? Both of them is more so my question.
That's actually kind of funny you bring that up. Those are more so Josh than Quan, but those
Uh-huh.
are two names I haven't really seen anybody throw around as potential trade candidates that, again, I hate admitting it. In my mind, it makes sense. We haven't extended them, we haven't paid them yet. The history of Cleveland ownership tells me that we don't want to. Granted, recent history extending Jose and such tells me we might. I wouldn't be shocked to see us try to ship one of those guys and again get a bunch of talent while we can before letting them walk.
Yeah, I'm interested about that too, especially because there was some Josh rumors before the season started. I think we touched on it on the show too a little bit. There was rumors of us wanting to trade Naylor for XYZ or whatever we would even trade him for. It's really, to me, I am so in love with this team just because of all the personalities and the heart. And I saw one tweet that was like the $2 billion, Dodgers or Angels or whatever versus the fifth lowest payroll team thriving off the power of friendship. And I love that, analogy for this Guardians team because, man, they just seem to gel no matter what. Tito back there, vote back, like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%. The energy that this team plays with is unmatched across the MLB, in my opinion. I mean, I would go as far as to say I would rather see us trade the number one overall pick in the upcoming draft for a starting pitcher and some talent than trade any of the core key pieces we have. Granted, I know that's almost a 0% chance, but I would rather that than see Josh or Quan or anybody else go.
I thought MLB picks couldn't be traded though.
That honestly could be possible. I'm not 100% sure. I was just trying to put it in a frame of that's how much
Okay,
I care about
that's
the
fair enough. Yeah,
personality of the team. I would rather give up the.
I get what you're saying now. I'm there. I'm there. I really hope we extend both of them because I love both of them. They're, between those two, Bo, Jose, those are probably my favorite players on this roster. So I want to see them, wearing our colors for their whole careers. So we'll just have to wait and see. We did extend Jose. Um, I think they're both going to get a paycheck. I don't think they're going to get a crazy paycheck. So we'll just have to wait and see. But with that being said, let's take a pause real quick, go into our ad break, and then let's talk Browns draft because it is draft week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. And we're back with the East Bank Sports Show. So, Matt, we did a mock draft a couple episodes back. We decided we wanted to do one more before the NFL draft started. I wrote an article on this, so I would like to start first and kind of give you the interviewee chair of asking me who the pick is and stuff. And then we'll go into yours because I know yours gets wild, but mine only has one trade, and I'm going to break down how I did it. But Matt, I'm giving you the hosting gear, so start asking me questions.
Alrighty, Noah. Well, Cleveland being on the clock at pick 54. How did you play that?
So I did my simulation first for some background. I went through, I did 5 simulations of a draft, figured out what players I took the most at those locations so I could avoid, your falls of some guy in the 15s or 20s falling, because if he falls, they're probably going to take him because they're very much best player available, I think, right now. So I kind of did it like that. In most of my scenario, I'll break it down with my pick, but in 3 out of 5 of my simulations, I was able to trade back and still get the selection. I think they're going to take it round 2. Defensive tackle out of Ohio State, Michael Hall Jr. And the only reason I picked him this time is because they've given him a top prospect visit. He has been linked to the Browns multiple times, and I think he fits what this roster, is kind of constructed. He's a smaller D tackle. He's kind of a pass rush guy that, they want to mold. That's a lot of the D tackles you've seen Andrew Berry take. Obviously, the youth is a big thing in Andrew Berry's draft. Breakdowns and stuff like that. He's the person to draft the absolute youngest in the draft out of all the GMs. The stats on that are actually completely crazy, because he's so skewed to drafting like 20-year-olds compared to like anybody above 22 or something like that. So I think he makes a lot of sense for where he's at. And, with Jim Schwartz being the coordinator that he is and everything that we have going on right now, I'm just really excited and think he would be a perfect fit.
I am a big fan of that pick. I've seen that name thrown around a lot, and I would be extremely happy to see another Ohio State guy stay in Ohio and come north and not go south to Kentucky.
Yeah, and I think he has a lot of good pass rush techniques that you could see. You put a Zadarius, Myles Garrett, him out there in obvious pass situations, and O-line have to figure out how to stop three guys with skill at that pass rush, with the pass rush and that kind of thing. I'm really, interested to see where he fits if he does come to us. And I'm really interested to see what his career pans out as a Buckeyes fan myself. Because, he's kind of this day two pick right now. Some people like myself mock him in the second round. Sometimes you see him slip to 3 or 4. I'm really curious to see what happens with him in the draft. This is a very, very deep draft in general, I think is the best part about this for us having, our last year of second round picks before we get to have a first out of the Deshaun Watson trade.
You mentioned there that you managed to trade back and still land him. Do you have written down somewhere what you traded for?
Yeah, so it basically broke down to getting a day 3 pick, like a 4th or a 5th. Yeah, a 4th or a 5th in next year's draft for moving back like between 5 and 10 spots, no matter what. And he's still sitting there a little bit later, and we get to add draft capital in a draft that we might want to move around some stuff more. You don't know what's going to happen with Nick Chubb past this year. You don't know what's going to happen with Amari, and having extra capital for next year's draft to go forward and, spring forward, maybe move from the late first round to the mid first round or something like that. Kind of made sense to me to gamble and see if Hall would still fall for me, which I think I ended up taking him 4 out of the 5 times. And there was only one time I had to stay at 54 and wait.
That's a good deal, and I'll talk about it a little more when I get to mine, but I love the idea of giving Andrew Berry more draft capital.
100%.
Anyway, moving forward from there, the next pick the Browns have would be the 85th overall pick, the 3rd round pick. What do you have there?
So this one's interesting because I think this prospect is way better than the 85th pick, right? But in my simulations that I did, he was there for me 4 out of 5 times. If he's there for me 4 out of 5, if he's there for me one time, I'm taking him in a heartbeat because I think he fits a hole because backups are holes in the Browns roster now. I think he fits a hole in this roster, and that's Tavion Sanders, the tight ends from Texas. He has fluctuated up and down draft boards. I am in love with him as a prospect because he has literally been described as baby David Njoku. Having a second guy where we can mold into being this run blocking beast that has, threat down the field, athletic. He's everything David Njoku was when we took him, years back, just in the 3rd round. Having that guy learn under Chief and, get to become this blocker and become this backup that, you hate to think about this because you love the players on your team, but, Njoku gets older. We decide to move away from him because he's too much money. And bam, you have Njoku 2.0 waiting, ready to go, who's been your backup tight end for, 3 to 5 years or whatever. It's a scary 1-2 punch that I would be really excited to see take the field with each other. And, you know, even if he isn't, you're worried about it, like I would trade up here. I didn't have to in my situations, but I would trade up to take a guy like this because, Atkins as a backup tight end, especially with how much we used Harrison Bryant and like, tush push scenarios and stuff, I don't think he fits that. And getting a young athletic guy like Jatavion Sanders from Texas makes a lot of sense to me.
I am actually a big fan of his. I am a big college football fan, and I was following him throughout the year. I don't hate it at all. And I was thinking there, I love the fact that Cleveland football is to a point where we can talk about drafting backups to develop and be replacements under guys we currently have.
A
I think
hundred
like five,
percent.
10 years ago, not a chance.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think he would be a fantastic fit for this Cleveland Browns roster, even if it's not for this very second, but a couple years down the line, he could be, catching some big balls from Deshaun Watson. So, um, Matt, any other questions on my mock draft before we flip this back to normal and I start interviewing you again?
Unless you have anything else that you want to hint at me to ask a question about right now, I think we're good to go.
No, I covered everything in my article. Anybody listening too, go check out Fans First Sports. There's a bunch of us out there that write for the Fanatical Elves Network, which most of you are probably watching this on right now if you're watching live or listening to on Spotify, Apple, all of that. We have John, we have Lou, we have a bunch of guys, Sam, Jarrell, a bunch of people doing a lot of great content, a lot of writing on the side, a lot of, covering the Browns and Cleveland sports in general. And, we always appreciate you checking each other out, checking all of us out, giving the East Bank Sports Show a try and then go giving the Johnny Cleveland Show a try. And we always appreciate the, the collaboration and everything we get to do over here at the Fanatical Elves Network. All that being said, Matt, you told me your mock draft was spicy because of a trade. In the second round, because I know it's not the pick they have now, maybe it isn't even the second round, who knows? What happens in your mock draft first?
All right, so the Cleveland Browns first pick. I got to pick up my notebook here for this one. Try to stay with me here.
Okay.
First pick of the draft is number 54 overall. We also possess number 156. Trade that to the Rams for 63 and 83. Okay. From there, we trade 63 and 206 to Arizona for 66 and 104. 66 then goes to Denver for 76 and 121.
Okay.
As I
Who do
touched
we
on
take?
briefly, I personally love the idea of giving Andrew Berry as much draft capital as possible. He always seems to find one hidden gem of draft. The more opportunities we give him, the more likely we are. With that being said, in that draft at 76, I decided to go with Kamari Lassiter. He's a DB out of Georgia. He's a little
You're
bit
adding to the
undersized.
secondary. Okay.
I
Continue.
am. He's a little bit undersized, but he can play the slot phenomenally. He's fast. He's a ball hawk. If he's there, I really love him. That was more so a grab as he's available this late. I love the pick. It was hard to pass him there.
Almost like Martin Emerson when we took out Martin Emerson. Okay, I'm there. What school did you say he came out of? Did you have that written down?
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, that's right. You follow college football a little bit more than I do, other than, the Buckeyes on Saturday and the Worcester Fighting Scots on the side too. So with all that, tell me where you are in the draft. What picks do we have right now? Break that down for me first.
So right now we have 76, 83, and 85. And then just for fun, because I traded for them, I also looked at 104 and 121. I know that's deeper than what we were framing this as, but I traded for him, so I figured I'd just real quick pick a guy.
Yeah.
So that was 76. We got Lassiter, the cornerback. Our
Okay.
next pick at 83, again, not necessarily as much of a need pickup as I just really liked the guy for where we could have gotten him, is Jalen McMillan, a wide receiver out of Washington.
I've mocked him a couple times in my last draft, but I ended up taking the guy out of North Carolina, and his name slips me right now, but I do like him as a prospect as well. Continue with your topic.
He's just a deep threat. I've watched a little bit of his film, and he has some really good routes for being a deep threat. He's got some really solid hands. He goes up and attacks the ball well, and he's a smooth catch. Like he makes smooth catches, if that makes any sense to anybody. I was a big fan of him again. That's why I took him. And then 2 picks later at 85, call me crazy all you want. Again, another pick of best available. Cole Bishop, safety out of Utah. He just plays so physical and again can come down, play the nickel, play off the ball linebacker. I just couldn't pass him up again. I know almost none of those fill needs or potential needs. I just love the player so much that I couldn't pass him.
So I'm gonna poke one singular flaw in your mock draft, and I love it because you are having an absolute blast with it. So I love to see it. I'm all here for Matt having fun with mock drafting, but I don't think there's enough room on this roster to add, 3 to 5 players from this draft. I think you're gonna take a lot of waiver players in the later rounds solely to see what you got and maybe push some of those bottom roster guys that we've had on our roster for years off and pick up some younger guys and try something different. Your backup lineman. I don't want to say Jerome Ford because he's he was the starting back for a long time for us with the Nick Chubb injury, but I see him being pushed to the back of this running back rotation. I don't know. I think it's fun though. I think you got 3 good quality. Do you have more players involved in this?
I mean, a little bit, but I'm not too
Okay.
pressed about him.
No. I do not want to shut you down. You're having a good time. So go ahead and continue with your mock draft because if you're going to get players that you like, 5 or 6 of them, Andrew Berry's going to take them and he's shown us that before too.
I do want to say, too, with picking 2 defensive backs with our first 3 picks in my mock draft, I was imagining a world where Martin Emerson could very much more likely get traded in that situation. I
Yeah.
have seen some recent news saying that Denzel wants to keep the gang together.
I saw that as well. I was going to bring that up too, but continue.
So anyway, the next pick was one I traded for 104. Austin Booker, not Booger. He's an edge out of Kansas. He can play D tackle. He can play outside. A guy that would kind of have to develop under Miles and Za'Darius, but would almost always be guaranteed a one-on-one if he was on the field. I like it. And then at 121, kind of same thought. Leonard Taylor, a D tackle out of Miami, would need a little bit of developmental work. Can pass rush pretty well, in my opinion. Again, you guarantee him a one-on-one with Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith. I don't hate his odds.
Is that the wrap up of your mock draft?
That is the last pick that I drafted.
I'm giving you a slow clap for going deeper than I did because for me to break down day 3 prospects with a full-time job and a part-time job for the Cavs and, trying to write, 2 to 3 articles a week, do 2 to 3 shows a week, there isn't enough time in my life to also have a social life. And for those who are friends and family know I'm way too social to not have a social life on top of all of that. So props to you for sitting down because I know you did a majority of that today as well, right? Because I've had mine set up for a while. But, props to you, man. Yeah, I like the draft front to back. I don't know if all the prospects are going to make it to the roster, but, when you're talking day 2, day 3 guys, sometimes they don't always make it to the roster. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, exactly. It happens. And like I kind of touched on there, my thought was with the trade specifically, give Andrew Barry as much capital as you can. Let the draft wizard work. Some magic's bound to happen.
I'm with you, man. That being said, let's wrap this show up because, like one of the last episodes we did, I see the barge coming through, which means we're going to get a blowhorn here soon. So let's try to wrap the episode up before that happens. Final thoughts and takes. Matt, you go first.
Cavs in 4, guards in 4. I don't care who they play.
So I was going to say Cavs in 4 because that was kind of my hot take earlier. My other hot take is let me think here. Oh, the white face masks, glass helmets are the best helmets in the NFL. We didn't talk about it on this because we talked about it on the office edition of the East Bank Sports Show that you could catch on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, except not this week because I have too much personal stuff going on. But yeah, we touched on it that week, that episode, and we all loved it. Matt, I wanted to see if you would react, but I know you like all the classic Brown stuff, so I kind of already knew what your opinion was. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
I've seen a lot of news saying that the rehab on Deshaun and Nick Chubb is going great. Just hope that keeps going. Hope they're ready come the season roll around.
I'm with you. That being said, thank you for tuning in to yet another live edition of the East Bank Sports Show. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you stream a podcast, make sure you hit that download button. It helps us out a ton. Check out all the other guys on the network. And until next week, have a great week, Cleveland.